Thanks for joining us here today on the Real Kyper at Noon show. Lots to get into, no question about that, the next hour or so, and we will. But yesterday was a tough day in the hockey community. You, the fans, my NHL alumni, the city of Winnipeg, the country of Canada, the hockey world. We lost a very good man in Dale Hawerchuk at the age of 57. I want to send deepest condolences to the Hawerchuk family from everybody here at the Real Kyper at Noon show, linemovement.com, I3 Interactive. It's not easy. It's not easy watching people still very much in their prime go down. And this one's going to be a tough one moving forward for us because of the type of person that Dale Hawerchuk was. I didn't have the privilege or the honor to call him a teammate. I did compete against him. I did watch him as a teenager go from a boy to a man, from Cornwall to Winnipeg overnight, and watch him arguably be one of the best hockey players in the world as a teenager, scoring 50 goals, rookie of the year. And yes, you've heard the stories in the last 24 hours, and yeah, maybe he took maybe, I don't know if the word is backseat to Wayne Gretzky, but there's a lot of people that would argue that he was just as good in so many ways, and that if it was a role reversal and he had some of the names around him like Wayne did, that possibly he could have been in a position to set a few more records. In our hockey world, it really comes down to a few categories, and it is bad guy, good guy, and great guy. That's all we talk within our inner circles. You trade for a guy, you don't know a guy, you go to a guy that you trust, and you say, good guy? And then someone will say to you, no, not a good guy. Great guy. Great guy. Oh, great guy. Dale Hawerchuk. And I don't proclaim to know him well. We did NHL alumni events. We spoke. We had beers. We talked. On the surface, you couldn't find a more humble guy. Superstar in his prime. And yet, the last thing he ever wanted you to feel is that he was a superstar. No. He's just an ordinary guy who happened to do extraordinary things. That's how Dale wanted to come across. But you talk to anybody in our circles and you heard Dale Hawerchuk, Chucky, great guy. And that's what hurts us the most at age 57, losing him. He had great years in Winnipeg, and he will always be the face of the Winnipeg Jets. And that statue's coming real soon, and it will be prominent outside the arena. Probably most remembered, at least when it comes to Canadian history, and we know where Paul Henderson's goal stands, but we also know where the 1987 Canada Cup winning goal stands. And while Crosby may be known as the golden goal, we'll just label this the 200-foot goal. And it all came down to a Dale Hawerchuk faceoff. And you listen to interviews that Dale has done over the years for the Canada Cup, he'll often talk about that being the height of his career in terms of sheer competitiveness, the level of hockey, unmatched. And give Mike Keenan credit here, because that's what good coaches do. They follow their gut instinct. And Mark Messier was coming off a long shift and could have bought some time. Keenan, you know what? He takes the change in his pocket and he throws it on the ice. And I know my colleague Doug Maclean has done that on occasion. Maybe we'll ask him later on where he learned it from, but maybe it's a Scotty Bowman thing. But he could have easily bought time for Mark Messier, but he didn't. He also had Brett Sutter, sorry, on the ice. Brent Sutter on the ice or on the bench to take a key face-off, but no, he went with Dale Hawerchuk. And it's funny to listen to that story, how Dale went around and asked Gretz and Mario, you want to take the face-off? You know, no. See, that's where Gretzky and Mario are awesome in terms of understanding the game too. They understood their best chance of doing what they wanted to do off that face-off wasn't if Wayne took the face-off or Mario took it. It was Dale Hawerchuk. And as we know, the 200-foot goal is history. I want to bring in Doug Maclean as well, maybe share his thought or two on Dale Hawerchuk. Mac, like I said, we lost a good one.
Yeah, it was devastating. I mean, what really hit me was a couple of months ago, we saw him ringing the bell when he was leaving the hospital after his treatment and being cancer-free or feeling that way. And it was a real highlight to see him leave there and to ring the bell, beating cancer, and then to have it come back so fast and to see him go so quickly is really sad. I didn't know Dale Hawerchuk other than to say hello and have some short conversations with him. I coached against him, managed against him. I have so much respect for superstars in our game that come back and coach major junior hockey. And to see the comments that are being said about Dale Hawerchuk by his teammates is one thing, and players that he played against, but the kids that played for him, the Sveshnikovs, the Scheifeleys, and on and on and on, who played for him in Barrie, their comments are riveting because they thought the world of this guy. And I have so much respect for superstars that come back and do that. So I just think he was always a special guy. I wish I would have got to know him better as a person more than just a hockey player. But I'll tell you what, his hockey career speaks for itself. He was a superstar, and then everything else you've ever heard. You've never heard a bad word ever said about Dale Hawerchuk. That's pretty amazing.
And the give back, we know coaching in the OHL, passing it on to the kids.
Yeah.
We know Dale's a very successful guy off the ice. He certainly wasn't in it for the money.
Yeah.
But it was about, a lot of us feel, passing the torch, right?
Yeah, for sure. And that's what really jumps out at me, that he did that and he took it serious, and he was a winner. I mean, he had good teams. He built built a great program there. And the thing that jumps out to me about his playing days was the unbelievable. We talk all the time about hockey IQ. Where was Dale Hawerchuk's hockey IQ? It was off the charts.
It was Gretzky and Hawerchuk. That's what it was in the 80s.
Totally. Yeah. And then every time he goes back to Winnipeg, I mean, he, to me, was the Winnipeg Jets franchise. Bobby Hull played there. Ulf Nielsen played, and all these superstars played there, Nielsen and so on. But Dale Hawerchuk is the franchise player of the Winnipeg Jets.
Yep, no question. And we'll leave it right there, Mac. But as we know, the hockey world doesn't stand still. And last night was a prime example in terms of the games that were played. And now we're seeing some teams on the brink of elimination. One of them I want to start with is the Calgary Flames. And while it was looking good for a while, you wonder now if it just came down to the last 12 seconds and the puck on Joe Pavelski's stick that has changed everything. And I think you can look at it in a snapshot if Calgary does go down in this series, that was a turning point. But I think we can look at this Calgary Flames organization and say they've got some good pieces, but they still got some major moves to make here, Mac. And I want to get your thoughts on the Calgary Flames first before I kind of dive into where I see they need to make a few changes.
You know what? I look at their team and you think, wow, they came in, they were feeling very good about their game, obviously through the Winnipeg series. Dallas, I picked them to beat Dallas based on how well they were playing, how their third line of Bennett and Lucic had come to life, and Dubé, and had played so well for them. But the big line is not there, and I don't get it. They weren't there last year against Colorado, and 5-on-5, they haven't been there in this series. And when your big guys don't do it 5-on-5, it's hard to win at the playoffs. And we see all around the league, your franchise players, your top guys, we saw it jump and hit us right in the face with Vancouver, the way Ryan O'Reilly played. Calgary need the big boys. And I'm talking Monahan, Gaudreau, and Lindholm. They've got to get it done 5-on-5. And for a second year in a row, unless it changes next game, that's going to be a big conversation. They're 5-on-5, lack of production.
I'm making it a big conversation right now. And I look at Johnny Gaudreau, and I see a major problem for the Calgary Flames that doesn't appear to be going away anytime soon. And whether you want to say this year and last year, but he's regressed, Mac. He is his level of play, whatever you want to say, the skill level, the compete level, whatever you want to say, has regressed. And while maybe a short while ago you looked at Johnny Hockey and you said, superstar, nucleus guy, core guy, he isn't. He is not. He is now, if anything, we'll never question his talent level. But the level of compete, to drive a game, to dictate, to put teams on their heels, is not there. He's gone now from a potential franchise superstar type of player to maybe a complimentary player. Maybe he's got the skill of a Phil Kessel, but Phil's best when you've got core guys around you, and then he can just slide in there. I think Johnny Gaudreau is that type of player now. He's not a nucleus guy.
Well, you know what? It's interesting. We've always said playoffs are different, and the coaching changes at playoff time. The competitiveness changes. And when you're coaching in a series, you go in how to shut down certain players. What do you do when Johnny Gaudreau gains the blue line against your team? What is your game plan to snuff him out? And this starts to happen even in the regular season, where coaches were coming in and really challenging Johnny Gaudreau on his turn-up plays and on his entries. And if you don't make adjustments to get away from that at playoff time, you're in trouble. And we see the big boys find a way to battle through it. Johnny has not found that yet. Look, I was in Detroit. I talked about this before. We had trouble getting over the hump. We had a skilled group there. And you talk about complementary pieces. You've got to get the core guys, and your complementary guys have got to take a major step. So Monahan and Gaudreau and Lindholm, for me, they got a lot to prove based on salaries. And
Monahan,
where are they going without them, Nick?
Yeah.
Where are they going to go without them?
Monahan's playing harder for me than Johnny Gaudreau. And I think that if you made a change in the off season and you decided to move on from Johnny Gaudreau and you brought in somebody else, it would help a guy like Monahan right now. But you can't be a liability when you're out there and you watch the Klingberg game-winning goal, and that's Johnny Gaudreau's point man. and he's in no position. How many block shots have we seen in so far in this tournament? Like, it's all block shots. Everybody is getting in the way. And there's a prime example of a guy that I don't think he has any interest in blocking Klingberg's game-winning goal shot.
And it's back to paying the price to be successful. And some skill guys, and you've seen this in your career, some skill guys don't ever buy into it. They don't ever buy into that 25% upswing in competitiveness at playoff time. And if they don't, you've got to find a way to move by them. Lots of teams in the league have these guys, and lots of guys eventually, management say, we've got to go buy this guy if we're going to take a step. I hate to pick on the Toronto Maple Leafs, but they got a few of them too there. Anyway.
I think the other glaring need for the Calgary Flames is the blue line. And Mac, I'm watching a guy like Miro Heiskanen and Klingberg control the pace of play. I'm watching Miro Heiskanen right now, and I'm going, oh my God, how good is he now? And how good will he be in a few years? He's Lidstrom. He can be a Nick Lidstrom, and he skates like Scott Niedermayer.
The only team that ever won a Stanley Cup in my recent memory without a franchise defenseman is when the Carolina Hurricanes won the Stanley Cup. However in the hell they won it, I don't know. But every time a team wins a Stanley Cup, Nick, they have a franchise defenseman. And Dallas right now have a franchise defenseman. The Calgary Flames, God bless Giordano for what he's done for this franchise. But at this age, he can't. And then Hamonic doesn't play for them because of the opt-out. All of a sudden, Rasmus Anderson's in their top four with Brody. That's not a Stanley Cup blue line. So we can talk Goudreau all we want and the disappointment of his line, but the defense isn't a Stanley Cup blue line, in my opinion, right now. And it's not easy to retool that back end. They're not out there. They're hard to find.
Well, and I look at Giordano, and you said it. He's given everything he has, but when you're in your mid-30s, it can go on you pretty quick. And while we marveled at the season that he had to win a Norris Trophy, we don't look at him as a Norris type of guy year after year. And you look at now the heir apparent there should be Hanifin. When I look at Hanifin, Mac, what do you see? You see size, you see speed, you see a shot. But
you know
there's something missing with Hanifin.
You know what bothers me about Hanifin is I have to look for him. I don't have to look for Heiskanen. I don't have to look for Weber. I don't have to look. I mean, so this
is where it gets a little.
And I like him. He's a good player, but he's not in that category.
Well, he isn't, Mac. He isn't because we gotta go to that term, hockey IQ, and you watch Miro Heiskanen, and not only do you see the speed, the ability, the mobility, all the tools, but it's the computer and the ability to process the game. And Miro Heiskanen makes choices out there, and he gives himself choices before he even gets the puck. And that's what the great ones do, is they can process it. And we just spoke of Hawerchuk and Gretzky and those type of guys that could just read and see the play. You watch Heiskanen, and he'll give himself 2 or 3 options, and he'll pick the best option. Where Hanifin has everything, he just has still the difficulty of processing, and he's not the only one. We see it on a daily basis, me and you, where we can go, oh my God, that guy, what skill that guy has. He's got He's got all the tools, but no toolbox. We know there's a lot of those guys out there. That's the real challenge for Hanifin and those skilled guys is how much are you learning here? How much are you processing?
Difference in the series for me is Heiskanen and Klingberg. And you go, it's like the teams that are all out of the playoffs. How many of them had franchise defensemen? The teams that we really believe. We're talking Hedman, we're talking Heiskanen, we're talking the superstars of the game. Those teams have a chance. Jones, what has he done for the Columbus Blue Jackets? We can go on and on. But that, to me, is the biggest difference in this series. Heiskanen and Klingberg, what they've done offensively, defensively, what speed they bring to the game. They make their teams quicker, faster because they move the puck. They're up in the play. They're creative. So to me, that's the biggest difference in these two teams. Goaltending, Hudobin has been real good. Talbot has been terrific. Up front, it's been a pretty good saw-off there. But on the blue line, to me, is a major difference.
Yeah.
And the games, you know what? As Dallas got it going, these games haven't really been close.
Well,
they've been close score-wise, but they have not been close.
That's what you kind of worry if you're a Calgary Flame fan, is that if they are able to somehow prolong this series or even win it, it's not going to be because they're the better team. It's going to be because Hudobin shit the bed or an injury or level of play just falls off for Dallas. If you look at it,
or Talbot makes 62 saves.
Or Talbot makes 62 saves. Absolutely.
Which he had to do.
But Calgary's got some good pieces, but
yes.
Tree Living's got some tough decisions to make, regardless of what happens in the next game or even the next few games, because there is one guy can change the culture of that room. And I think if you moved off Johnny Gaudreau and found him a new place to play, it may be enough to kind of turn it around a little bit in Calgary. And maybe I'm overthinking this, but you tell me as an ex-president or general manager, can it be one guy, getting one guy out of the lineup, getting Johnny Gaudreau moved on? Is that enough to maybe move Calgary in a positive mode?
I think it's going to have to be some serious soul searching by the franchise. And I think, and one of the reasons is they need to bring in a franchise defenseman somehow, some way. Does Johnny Gaudreau help bring that in? Does Johnny Gaudreau and Hanifin maybe? What do they do? I mean, they had Hamilton there, who looks like he's a franchise player.
That's got to kill them. Watching Hanifin do that in Carolina now.
Right. I mean, so how do you replace that guy? Anyway, it's going to be interesting in Calgary. Hey, they're not out of it. I picked them to win this series.
Okay.
They're not out of it.
All right. Well, listen.
But I'm nervous.
It's stick with what you went with. Now, I like it. And
by the way, Ward said in his post-game conference last night, he thought they looked nervous in this game. They were nervous in this game. Well, I'm nervous right now for them.
I just want to touch, before we move on to Vancouver, and I hope you're enjoying the show. Hope you love the honesty that Doug and I try to bring you on a daily basis. Hit that like button. We love your feedback. You love your comments. Subscribe to the show, and we'll keep it going here. I just want to get your perspective. One more thing on Calgary, and you mentioned Jeff Ward, and Jeff's saying the right things. We win as a team, we lose as a team.
Yeah.
But I would imagine it's a far different play away from the media spotlight. And how hard would you be going on a guy like Johnny Hockey and pushing him or saying the things to motivate him? Tortorella didn't mind calling out Pierre-Luc Dubois publicly on his bench. It's debatable whether you think that worked or not, or it had an impact, but you can't deny that it's a story. So where are you with Jeff Ward? Is he protecting them too much, or should he start challenging them publicly or privately more?
I would be surprised if Jeff's not challenging them privately. And I don't have a problem with that. If you if you as an NHL coach have trouble challenging your superstars, you got a big problem. Then you're not going to be an NHL head coach for long. So you've got to be able to challenge your top guys to bring them to another level. And the top coaches in the NHL do that. Jeff, first time really being an NHL head coach. I think he's done a good job. I think there's a great mood in the room. I think they've played pretty well under Jeff Ward. But he's got to get more out of Johnny Hockey, and you got to figure out, and a few others, and you got to figure out how to push the buttons.
Okay, let's move it. Let's move it to the Vancouver Canucks here. Travis Green's a guy that publicly says, "We're here to win. Don't want to hear stories about learning experiences. We're here to win." The series is tied 2-2, but it doesn't feel like it's a 2-2 series, does it?
No, it doesn't. And Travis really, I mean, it's a 2 out of 3 now with the Stanley Cup, defending Stanley Cup champs, who are taking the game. Well, Ryan O'Reilly's taken this team by their bootstraps and dragged them into this fight. I mean, he's done it. Not Tarasenko, not the lots of the big boys there. Ryan O'Reilly, who has been involved in the last 5 goals of this for this team, has taken this team to a whole nother level. I mean, the admiration you got to have for this guy, for the way he has played, and he's been traded by 2 teams. Like, are you serious? Colorado and Buffalo both traded him. Oh my God. But anyway, that happens in this game, but he is one hell of a player. And if they don't figure out Ryan O'Reilly, they're not going to win the series. And I picked St. Louis to win, but I really like to see Vancouver win this series. But I'm telling you what, their power plays 0 for 7. Pedersen line. Besser, I think Besser's had 2 shots on goal in this series. Besser's a shooter. He's got to shoot the damn puck. JT Miller's been good, good. Pedersen, I love Pedersen. I love Quinn, but this is a big test.
They don't look heavy enough right now against that O'Reilly line. That's
and
a
that's
major
fair.
issue.
And that's fair because they're young. They're young kids, 10 players who haven't played a playoff game. It's a tough task to ask them, but I love so much about this Vancouver team and for the future. But maybe, I mean, look, it's 2-2.
Yeah.
You'd take that and run if you were the Vancouver Canucks.
Well, and
2-2 after 4.
I think it's clear that Vancouver in those first 2 games sent a pretty good message to the defending Stanley Cup champions, and that is, Mac, you better bring your A game or else we've got enough talent in here to take advantage of you. And they were able to do that earlier in the series, and now you watch the compete level, and you mentioned O'Reilly, and I look at Shen, and I go, here is a hockey player. Here's a guy that can beat you many ways, physically, skill level, compete, and that's how you win Stanley Cups. And he's got the Cadbury recipe right now.
And what did we just talk about? The big defenseman. What has Pietrangelo meant to this team the last 2 games? What is his game? Where's his game gone to when it was really required and when it was necessary? This is a guy without a contract, and he's logging 26, 28 minutes a night for this team. So their big boys decided to really take a step. And then you've got the Thomas. I mean, you've got so many weapons. Perron. I mean, who would believe the way he's bounced back? So this is a tough task. I'm anxious to watch how Vancouver respond tonight. I'm looking for Pedersen, who I think is going to be a franchise player. I think he's going to be so damn good. It's scary. Quinn's going to be so damn good. Besser, shoot the damn puck, Besser. But anyway, I like so much about this team, and I really hope they can. I hope they can pull it out, but I can't be wrong. I picked St. Louis. I can't lose another round here. Good God.
What do you make of Tarasenko leaving the bubble? I know the story is he's going to check out his shoulder, but my spidey senses say this one is kind of strange to me. And I know he's got some shoulder issues. There's no question about that. But to leave the bubble to go check it out, I don't know. I just don't have a good vibe on this. That first of all, he wasn't playing that well. They weren't happy with him, and then he just goes. He just leaves.
Are you
That to
telling me
it's
that
strange, Mac? I find it strange.
Something smells here? Something smells.
The good thing about it is usually when a team loses their $8 million a year player, they're done, or people talk like they're done. Not even, a blip on the radar that people believe that this should affect the St. Louis Blues against Vancouver from here on in. We're not sitting there. We're talking about all the depth pieces that they have, and yeah, they're deep enough. They can still win a Stanley Cup without Tarasenko.
Well, they did for all year essentially with the shoulder problems, and to get them back now was thought to be a real positive for them. But no, they can win. They can win this series for sure without him. So it'll be interesting. You'd like to know why he's unfit to play and why he leaves.
Well,
you'd like to know this stuff. If somebody will find out, it'll get out there. I'm shocked that you don't know the real reason, or maybe you do and you're BSing us. You won't tell us.
No, I wouldn't. I'm not
calling
BSing.
You out, Kypreos.
I'm not BSing. And he could have a horrible shoulder and it could be totally legit. Yeah. But I do know that he appears to me to be a not very happy player. Disgruntled might be too strong of a word, but he just didn't appear to me engaged or happy, or, and on top of that, he might have a sore shoulder. So, he might be out with a sore coach too. Who knows? But we'll kind of follow that. If is he in a position to get back in the bubble? He's got a quarantine. So
you're telling me you're not hiding something. You're telling everything you know.
I'm telling you everything I know. This is I said it right off the bat. This is just my spidey senses.
Okay.
That says it just seems weird to me that he would just pack up. Like, you've got team doctors there. You've got access to medical expertise there. Like, why leave the bubble?
Wouldn't you want to leave the bubble?
That's no, well, I don't know. I said this all along. I can be a bubble guy. To get my name on the Stanley Cup again, I have no trouble being a bubble guy. And
listen, since I've retired, I stay at Hampton Inns.
Mac.
The Royal York and Hotel X sounds pretty good to me.
I'm also hearing that there's a pretty good rooftop patio that helps the boys a little bit handle the bubble.
Who doesn't it help? We've all spent a little time on rooftop patios.
I hear there sometimes is over an hour wait to get onto the rooftop patio. Hey, that's how good it is.
I love when my travel guy would say, we're going to a new hotel, when I was in the NHL and when I was a GM or president, they said, we're moving to a new hotel. And my first question would be, does it have a rooftop patio?
So that's all. The only thing I question out of that whole Tarasenko and the Blues situation is, how bad is it that you need to leave the bubble? That's all I'm questioning here.
You would certainly hope it's really bad.
Okay. Speaking of players that appear not very happy, let's go to Gallagher and the Montreal Canadiens. Just a couple of shifts in the third period. Played 12, 13 minutes.
Why are you so negative today? Looking at all the down negative. You're a Debbie Downer today.
If you're Bergevin, I guess you can take it two ways. You can say, just leave that in the dressing room, or you could sit there and say, hey, that's good. If you're not happy, do something about it. Play better.
Look, when I give Kirk Muller full marks. How many guys that are associate coach or assistant coach that come in and take over and do that to one of your best players? So I'll give him full marks for doing it. But by the same token, They must have desperately tried to get Gallagher going. I know Gallagher was frustrated. I know he hadn't scored. I know it's been driving him crazy. I just prefer to see the best players be allowed to play their way out of these situations. Full marks to Kirk, but I'd rather see a guy play his way out of it than put him on the bench. Because you lose a game 2-0 and you can't score. You've been shut out back-to-back games. I don't think young Evans is going to give you more than Gallagher is. And I don't think some of these others are going to give you more than Gallagher. So I guarantee you that he comes back and plays a lot next game. I would certainly hope he does.
It's tough. It's a tough series to watch.
Tough to watch.
So frustrating. I'm sure if you're a Montreal Canadian fan and you've watched now 2 games of that, you got to be pulling your hair. And you watch your team and it's just not Gallagher, but there's Tatar, there's Domi,
Drouin,
Jonathan Drouin. They can't get to the net. They can't get there, Mac.
They cannot get to the.
And now all you see is a small team.
But this is a team that has had a history of getting lots of shots and getting 0 second chances. Why don't you get second chances? Because you don't go to the tough areas. You get the shots from perimeter, you get them from decent areas, but you don't go there for the greasy rebounds like the Ryan O'Reilly goal the other night, where he was right at the post and flipped it upstairs for the big goal. You gotta get to these areas. And what's bothering me is I don't think Philly's been that good. I don't think they've played very fast. I don't think they've been physical.
But Mac, you're in many ways, and I'll get to Tampa Bay and Columbus, but you got to find different ways to win this time of year.
Totally.
And I'm okay with Philly kind of beating Montreal at their own game, and then we'll talk about Tampa Bay maybe doing the same thing against Columbus. But when you can find different ways to win, like Philly has against Montreal, that's a good thing.
Hey, you know what? I love it last night. Philip Myers gets the second goal, an undrafted NHL player.
Where's he from?
He's from Moncton, New Brunswick, and I happen to really like this kid. And he's a 6'5" defenseman who was number 3 in ice time for the Philadelphia Flyers, and his contract's up. But anyway, I mean, he scores that goal. I know it was a bit of a fluky goal, but you got to get it from other people is what my point is too, not just your stars. Dubé, we see what he's doing. Pavelski comes up with a hat trick. I know he's a star. They've been doing it without Schenn and Benn for the most part. Benn scores last night. Big goal. Sagan makes a big play. You got to get it from all the guys. You really do. Klingberg. We go on and on. I just don't think Philly, they've won it differently, but they don't look like a Stanley Cup team to me. Now, they may crank it up, but then they better crank it up when they go by Montreal. But they're winning. And Hart has been their best player by a country mile. Hart has been their best player.
If Myers is up for a new contract, I urge him to go out and get a good agent.
He has one.
Who's his agent?
He's with ASM Hockey, so the Solid Group. So he's set. He's good shape. That is like Clark Hampton's Pete.
Co-founder is Clark Mcclain. Your son is part of that agency, isn't he?
That is akin to hamptonspei.com.
Myers is going to make your son a lot of money, I think.
Well, let's just hope that he does well because he's a hell of a player. He's a hell of a player. Chuck's lucky to get him. What a signing by Ron Hextall, though. Free agent signing at development camp.
And more stories are going to come across.
Just a minute.
What?
He was in Calgary's development camp first, and they didn't sign him. Then he went to Phillies, and they signed him.
We just changed their whole team. I traded Johnny Hockey away, and now you got to come back and just stick it to Calgary one more time.
I'm just trying to educate the fans because I know they're having a hard time getting good hockey shows. I'm trying to educate the fans.
Okay. Style of play. We credited Philadelphia. I want to also
just one point. Obviously, Bruce Garriock's not watching our show. He just phoned me. Like, seriously, Bruce. Like, come on. Hit the button.
Hit the like button.
Hit the subscribe
Bruce
button.
Garriock.
Come on, Garriock.
Come on.
Wake up, Garriock.
Boo-boo. Style of play. Tampa Bay. While we sit there and look at the likes of Kucherov, Point, no Stamkos, but Hedman, they've got their star power there. But now you're looking at third line contributions. Yanni Gord, Goudreau, Coleman, and now we're in a situation where Tampa Bay's finding different ways to win.
Gord's line has been, for me, it hasn't been close. It's been their best line.
Barkley, Coleman, Goudreau, 17 and a half minutes, 18 minutes.
They paid a big price to get Coleman from Jersey with the first-round pick Foot going that way. Their first-round pick from a couple of years ago, Adam Foot's son, paid a big price for Coleman. And I questioned at the time. I'm not questioning it right now watching the way this line's playing. Like Gord, they have played so fast. They have been a real problem for the Blue Jackets. Goudreau, a good pickup. Julian Brisbois has made a couple of good pickups to give them a chance. When your big lines get snuffed out, it's no different than the Bennett line, what they've brought to the table. Imagine where this team would be without their third line. Third lines become important, man, and they are in Tampa.
You think Tortorella can still get some blood out of this stone?
You know, I think Columbus, in fairness, they've had a rough road. I think fatigue is maybe a factor. They were down 2-0 in the first. They battled back to make it 2-1 here at the end, late in the first. They're not going to quit. Tortorella's teams don't quit. The Blue Jackets don't quit. They got too much character in that team. I still think it's going to be. They're not going to be an easy out, but Tampa should win this series because of what you said, Nick. Because the coach, who was under extreme pressure in Cooper, said, "Don't take offensive chances by giving up our defensive responsibility." They've played hard defensively, this group that don't like to play hard defensively, but they've done it.
One coach that is questioning his team a little bit today is Rick Tocchet. We do know Arizona's down 3-1 in that series. Colorado, Mac, should we just start getting excited for a potential Colorado-Vegas scenario here? We'll get into Vegas eliminating Chicago. We'll get into that one, but let's just talk about, first of all, if Hawerchuk was considered the second best player in the world to Gretzky, can we just say McKinnon is to Connor McDavid right now? Because I watched this guy again the other day cut into the middle of the ice at full speed. And while Connor McDavid may be a deer, this guy is a bull.
He is unbelievably special, and he wants to win so bad. He'll fight, he'll score, he'll hit, he'll do whatever it takes. Talk about a kid maturing. Nate McKinnon, what he's become, hanging around with Sid Crosby in the summer, hasn't heard of this guy, let me tell you. But there's other guys there too, Nick. I mean, we go Landeskog, we go Rantanen, but what about Kadri? What about Burakovsky? These guys have played unbelievable hockey. Makar has been a horse on the back end as a kid. I mean, Gerard is good. I mean, they have got a group of six back there. The goaltending has been good, but I mean, McKinnon, Kadri for me at one line, the other line. I hate to bring this up. I hate to bring Kadri up.
We've got Leaf fans.
Toronto up. I hate to bring Kerfoot up, but I'm bringing it up.
We have Leaf fans watching this show. They're enjoying it. They're getting their fill of NHL around the Toronto Maple Leafs. Why do you want to do this to them? Why do you want to do this to our Leaf fans watching on the Real Kyper at Noon show?
We're trying to be entertaining. We're not trying to piss people off. We're just trying to tell it the way it is,
And it's depressing if you're a Leaf fan, because there's some trades, Mac, you got to watch. Well, yeah, it's a win-win. They get what they want, you get what you want, and we'll see how it plays out long term. That was never the case for Kadri, for Barrie, and Kerfoot, and throw in Calle Rosen and maybe a draft pick in this trade. From day one, no, less than day one, from the first hour you heard it, you're going, what are the Leafs doing here? Why are they trading for a guy that's going to walk out the door in less than 12 months in one hockey season, UFA? I don't understand why they were in such a hurry to get rid of Kadri.
Because he cross-checked somebody across the neck.
Oh.
And it apparently cost them the series. Listen, you and I, we've watched Kadri grow up. We've watched Kadri go from, he had his issues coming. He got smartened up. He matured. He got a little older. I mean, if you say a secondary guy that comes to play in the playoffs, and we talk Bennett, we talk all kinds of names, what about what this guy has done for the Colorado Avalanche at this point in the playoffs? Is he going to take the odd bad penalty? Yeah, he's going to take the odd bad penalty. But you know what? This guy plays hard. And I hate to say this to all my great Leaf fan friends who love to abuse the face off me when I criticize them, but that's exactly what you need on your team right now. And he's in Colorado.
Well, the key is to...
Do not tweet me. I get it. You hate my guts. Don't tweet me.
The key is to manage a guy like that. And I've said this all along, okay? If you would have surrounded Kadri with the Leafs with more guys who show up in the battle, he would have not needed to feel like he needed to go to the place that he went. And I would take that bet that you will not see Kadri pull off any of those stupid moves with the Avs that we saw with the Leafs. I would take that bet on blitzbet.eu right now. If that's what we call a prop bet, I would take that bet that he will not step out of line like he did as a Leaf. Why? Because he looks around and he sees guys that play the game hard. Right?
Yeah. I'll tell you what. And hey, tell me a coach or a manager that doesn't want a guy playing on the edge. Tell me somebody that doesn't want a guy playing on the edge.
He's it.
You're damn right he is. But anyway,
so Mac,
he's not there anymore. So that's fine.
I want to give you Thursday. I don't think you're scheduled to be on the show Thursday, but you still would want to tune in, because this Thursday, for everybody watching and listening on the Real Kyper show, I'm going to have Joe Holka on the show. And Joe is he's the co-founder of linemovement.com and our chief content officer. And what Joe is going to be able to do Thursday, Mac, is talk a little bit about online gambling in pro sports. For me, specifically, hockey. So it's a bit of a 101 in terms of what we can look for. And we know Gary Bettman went down a certain path, and I said, I'm going down that path too. So Joe's going to be on. We're going to hear stuff about, well, he's from the fantasy sports kind of field, but we are going to hear some gambling terms, like a betting line, as a puck line. What are those things, Mac? You want to know, don't you?
Big time. And Joe reminds me a lot of myself.
Uh-oh.
He wasn't a very good hockey player.
No, Division I.
I remember him at St. Cloud. I remember him in the BC Junior League. I'm glad he got into what he's in, because he wasn't going to make any money as a hockey player. So congratulations, Joe. We're really proud of you. We're lucky to have you. But you were like me. You weren't that good.
No, but he was smart.
You were an East Coast leaguer at best. Same as I was.
This is where he was smart. He rebranded himself. You're still working on that.
Exactly.
But he was also a one-on-one consultant for fantasy sports. And our CEO here at linemovement.com, then the CEO of i3 Interactive, which is a publicly traded company, he consulted him last year during the Super Bowl for a fantasy football. Chris Neville won $1 million. $1 million.
Okay, I'm tuning in Thursday.
Oh,
I'll be one of those guys hitting the like button on Thursday.
all right.
Bring me the goods, Joe Holka.
Okay. We want to talk a little bit about Chicago and Vegas. And we saw Chicago hang in there. Now, there's two schools of thought about the Chicago Blackhawks, that you feel like the glass is half full or still half empty. And I look at Chicago and I still see a team that's troubled, Mac. And I get it. Kirby Doc coming out party. They got some good, talented guys. But I also see, Mac, a team that still had success off the backs of Duncan Keith, Jonathan Taves, Pat Kane. And the only reason why they didn't get swept was because of Crawford. So you tell me where Chicago goes moving forward.
I watched them all year a lot, and they had a horrible year. I mean, the quality chances this team gave up night after night after night. They don't have enough NHL playoff type players. What Taves did, what Kane did, what Keith did, what Kirby Doc did, Strome was okay. DeBrincat was okay. They need more real playoff type players. I mean, look, Vegas is a hell of a team. Vegas are a contender. There's no denying they're deep, they're good, they're big, they're fast. But Chicago have got a ways to go to be a better team. Is Jeremy Cullen the right coach? He replaced a legend in Joel Quenneville. Tough assignment. Is he the right guy to take them to the next level? I happen to hear good things about him. I like Stan Bowman, but they got to turn this. This has got to be. This has got to change. This is
Stan
Chicago.
safe? Is Stan safe?
I would say when the president gets fired,
McDonough,
or he retires. I retired too. He retired, I guess, or I'm not sure what happened to him. But when that happens, you've got to be a touch nervous. So Stan's had a hell of a run, but the Wirtz family wants to win. They got spoiled. And they want to win.
A lot of talk about hiring a president. And we just mentioned before, McDonough out. He kind of oversaw the whole, I think, empire in terms of what's going on in the sports world with the Wirtz family. But do the Chicago Blackhawks need a president? Would you advise with that? Because we know that's the way teams go now. They got their president and he oversees, or he has the final say on a lot of stuff the general manager does.
Team needs a president. Every team doesn't need a president of hockey ops, for me. They got a general manager who's won 2 or 3 Stanley Cups. You need a president of an organization. They'll need a president. But, I mean, I don't know. I mean, they look, Stan has got a hell of a resume. They're the youngest team in the NHL right now. They got the youngest coach, I think, in the NHL. I think that Stan Bowman does not deserve to be fired, in my opinion. He does not deserve to be fired.
They're like Calgary. They got some good pieces, and we'll see where it goes. But some of them are going to have to really step up in the next year or two to see Chicago. And Mac, the only thing I will say is sometimes, again, you don't want to look at a team like you look at fool's gold, as they say. That, I look at Montreal, I look at Chicago, let's throw Arizona in there, and we're looking at still over the course of 70 games, the 22nd, the 23rd, and the 24th worst team. Like Chicago showed a lot of people that some of their kids are great, but or have the potential to be great, I should say. But at the end of the day, they weren't playoff teams. They didn't. A lot of people argue they didn't deserve to be here to begin with.
I know I come back
and
too
I
often.
look at Chicago and I'm sitting there going, do you judge from what you saw in this tournament, or do you sit there and go, no, I'll base it on what I watched over 70 games?
You're going to base it over what you saw in 70 games, and I come back to Keith.
Well, then this is a team that's in big trouble. Then
this is when Duncan Keith at his age has got to be your number one defenseman. I'm sorry. You need some help on the back end.
You know who
you need some big time help on the back end.
You know who the second best defenseman is for Chicago?
Changed every night.
Ole Mata.
Right. And he should be a number 5 guy. He should be a number 5 with a lot of teams. Connor Murphy became an important guy for them. But I mean, they need some big time help at the top end of their blue line. And it's not there right now. And look, Kane and Taves bring it every night, but how much can they do? You know, and they're in the moving into the, a little older now. They're still stars. They're still quality. This must drive them right around the bend. But I'm telling you what, Corey Crawford, when you give up 35, 45, 50 shots every night, and you got to count on Corey Crawford to bail you out. Hey, this series wasn't even close. You can say it was close. I mean, Corey Crawford stood on his head because of the quality of chances.
That's the only reason why they didn't get swept.
Oh, big time.
Okay, when I ended yesterday's show.
By the way, you can't end without mentioning Ovechkin.
Well, I'm getting there.
How to do your job, but you got to mention Ovi.
I'm getting there. I'm the host of the show, for God's sakes. Let me do it.
I was scared you were going.
Okay. As I was saying before I was rudely interrupted, that I talked in yesterday's show, the big thing for me yesterday was who's going to show up and still fight, and who has their bags packed at the front desk and will just keep the bus moving and reach out and grab their bag as they leave the bubble. That's what I wanted to know yesterday. And I was wondering about the Washington Capitals. And I said, their bags are packed. They're down 2-0 against the Islanders, and their bags are at the front desk. Okay, They don't even have to go up to their room.
They're with the bell captain.
They're with the bell captain, right? And yet OV says, no, we're going to stick around. And that is the OV that you've come to love and respect as a team captain. And Mac, you've been up and down, I'm sure, in your career, 3-1, and we know what the percentages say, that you're not coming back if you're down 3-1. 90%, over 90% says you have no shot of coming back down 3-1. And of course, they were down 3-0. So do the math on that. It's even worse. But OV showed something here. They could still lose this series, but you got to give it to Ovi a little bit for not having his bags packed with the bell captain.
Hey, you've got to give him full marks, and he's the straw. He's the guy, and he said after Game 3, next game's going to be different. Lots of guys say it. He did it, and I mean, you have a ton of respect for this guy. I mean, I love the way he parties. I love the way he plays. I mean, how can you not love this guy? And full marks to them. I mean, that's not playing. You're down 3-0. It's tough sledding, but I wouldn't count Ovi yet. I don't think they're going to win the series. I picked the Islanders to win the series, and I with Backstrom out and Carlson not 100%, I don't think they're good enough to beat. But I don't think they're good enough to come back. But I'm giving full marks to Ovi. Full marks.
A lot of people questioning whether that last game or this next game could be Holtby's last one. He's going to want to get paid. It doesn't appear that Washington has the money for him or the term for him. But that would become a big story here if Holtby was able to make this series close, because that's what's going to have to happen here. He's going to have to play lights out like he did 2 years ago.
It better be close because Uncle Ted Leon's will not be a happy camper losing to Barry Trotz. I would not want to be in that office if you lose to Barry Trotz. And you talked about that plenty. So we'll see. We'll see if they come back here.
Give me one team that has a chance to come back from a 3-1 deficit. Arizona, Columbus, Carolina.
I don't have any of them
Canadians.
coming back from 3-1.
Nothing.
I don't have any of them coming back from 3-1. None of them. But they're going to all fight. It's in my contract. I don't have to watch the Coyotes and Avs series, right? I don't have to watch. I haven't watched one game, so don't ask me any questions. But I do have one question before you.
This one would be over without Kemper too, right?
Oh my God! But before you knock me out of the box here, you haven't. I ended yesterday with I birdied 16, a par 3 in the trap with my drive, out of the sand trap for my birdie on 16. I take a 7 on number 17 and a 6 on number 18, and I end up with a 91. Not happy.
You can't. You're Calgary, man. You can't lose it in the last 12 seconds.
No.
You gave up breaking 90.
Should I
in the last minute of play?
Should I drink beer on the golf course? Maybe that's what's my. I had a cigar and 2 beer. Should I not do that on the golf course?
I know exactly your problem here. You got to 16 and you started doing math in your head. What if I par, bogey, or double? You counted. No. You don't count on 16. You just play.
I didn't. I'm standing on the tee box, and Jimmy Clark told me what I had after 16 holes.
See,
and Jimmy said, positive Jim Clark said you're not going to break 90.
He screwed you, bud.
Anyway, screwed me up.
He messed you up.
Anyway,
clearly he won money.
I know how these teams. What I'm telling you this story because I know how some of these teams feel down 3-1. It's tough. It's like my golf game.
No, you were up 3-1 on the 16th hole. Okay, you weren't down. You were up, and you blew it. So, hey, all your golf play on the last 2 holes is telling teams like Calgary it ain't over.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
And it's not necessarily what you do, but it's what your opponent does, and you shit the bed, bud. Okay.
I've done it on many occasions. Anyway.
Doug Maclean, everybody from Summerside, PEI. Watch the games today. Okay. I need you at the top of your game. Don't be golfing tomorrow. All right.
Perfect.
All right. Doug Maclean, everybody. That takes us right a little over the top of the hour here. We got some hockey. We're going to see who closes out. Who can finish the 17th and 18th hole, unlike Doug Maclean? That's what I want to find out today. Thank you for joining us. As I said, always, I hope you've subscribed. Put your reminder on in terms of where we are on a daily basis. Right now, we can update Tampa Bay 2-1 over Columbus. So that looks like Columbus has got their work cut out for them. They should pull something out of Washington Capitals playbook and know that it ain't over till it's over here. So we'll let you all get to that game as soon as I sign off and say goodbye. Thank you for joining us. Again, our condolences to the Hawerchuk family. We lost a good one.